So I recently watched a movie called The Killing of the Sacred Deer, and the premise seemed very familiar to me, but I couldn't exactly put my finger on why. When I looked into it further, the basis of the movie is indeed rooted in Greek mythology and the story of Iphigenia and the sacred deer. The story takes place during the Trojan War. King Agamemnon had angered the goddess Artemis when he killed one of her sacred deer. At the time, the Greek army were preparing to set sail for Troy, and in retaliation, Artemis stopped all the winds, making it so Agamemnon and his army could not set sail. The king was informed in order to appease Artemis he would have to sacrifice his daughter, Iphigenia. Agamemnon was reluctant at first, but with the pressure of the war, he had no other choice but to accept Artemis's demands. In order for Iphigenia to go willingly, he lied to his daughter and his wife, telling them that she was to marry Achilles before they left for Troy. The family, happy with the agreement, travelled to Port Aulis, only to find out the horrible truth upon arriving. Achilles, unaware of the situation, attempted to stop the sacrifice, but Iphigenia had already decided that she would sacrifice herself willingly. Upon seeing Iphigenia's willingness to atone for a sin that was not her own, Artemis substituted Iphigenia for a deer. The only witness to this was the seer, Calchas, who told no one. Iphigenia was brought to the city of Taurus, where she would become a priestess in Artemis's temple. Several years later, Orestes, Iphigenia's brother, killed his mother and her lover when he caught them. He was being hunted by the Erinyes, or the Furies, because he had just committed matricide. He fled to Taurus in the hopes that he would be able to seek refuge. When he arrived, he was captured by the locals and brought to Iphigenia. Believing his sister was dead, he did not recognize her. Eventually, Iphigenia explained the truth to her brother, and the two managed to escape the city, returning to Greece, where Iphigenia would continue to serve as priestess in Artemis's temple. In this tale, Iphigenia is essentially a scapegoat, the collateral damage in a conflict between her father and the gods. It was pretty commonplace in Greek mythology for the gods to demand retribution against the acts of men, with an almost eye for an eye mentality. Artemis could have easily killed Agamemnon, but she would rather make an example of him. In all likelihood, the sacrifice would have gone ahead to teach Agamemnon a lesson and establish the god's authority over men. It wasn't until Artemis saw how willing Iphigenia was to pay the price for her father's actions that she decided Iphigenia's purity and innocence would make for a perfect priestess. The Killing of a Sacred Deer is not a fast-paced movie, and it's definitely not for everyone, but it's nice to see Greek mythology is still influencing movies today.